Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hello, new friends. I'm Nicole Curvin. I'm the Dean of Admissions here at Middlebury College, and excited about the conversation we're going to have this evening to hear from some recent graduates of the college, to hear about their experiences both as Middlebury students and beyond. It's really exciting for me personally to welcome back some folks who have spent some time in the admissions office with us, telling their story and interacting with prospective students. So excited about the conversation ahead. I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to introductions and have each person just tell us a little bit about them, how they got to Middlebury, and where they are now. So I'm going to throw it over to Tony to kick us off.
Right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Tony Cuevas. I'm class of 2018. I'm originally from Los Angeles and then went to school at Middlebury in Vermont. And then now I'm living in the Bay Area. So I made my way back to California. I'm entering my third year as a first grade teacher in the Bay Area. And that's been really exciting and interesting to transition to virtual learning. A little bit about how I chose Middlebury. It was one of the few East Coast schools that I had applied to. I wanted something that was completely different from what I was used to, and I definitely found that in Vermont, coming from the West Coast. A couple of the things that I did at Middlebury: I studied American Studies and Education Studies. I had several jobs on and off campus, one of them being a senior fellow admissions job my senior year. I rode crew for 3 years. I was captain my last year. I worked with several professors as TAs, and I was really involved with mentoring on campus, specifically with first-gen students and being a first admit leader. And I just had a great time at Middlebury, and I think a lot of the roles that I played led me into leadership and mentorship, which then eventually led me into teaching.
Thanks for sharing. Kahari, can you do your introduction?
Hey everyone, welcome. Super excited to be here. Always love giving back to Mid. My name is Kahari Blue. I am was in the class of 2019 at Mid. I'm originally from New Haven, Connecticut, and I'm currently living in Jersey City, New Jersey, right across the river from downtown Manhattan. So I ended up at Middlebury. I honestly think for very practical reasons. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I think I was ambitious and had a classic high school obsession with prestige and applied to a lot of schools and got into Middlebury, and it was the school that was the most, I thought would give me the most opportunities after college, and also it was the school that gave me the most money. But then, of course, there are things I really loved about the school. I am obsessed with theater. Theater is my life, and Middlebury has a really excellent theater program. And I knew that I wanted to pursue theater at a liberal arts college rather than a conservatory, because I also wanted the opportunity to explore different parts of myself. So the theater program really excited me at Middlebury, and they had this summer program where essentially you get to work at an off-Broadway theater with your professors and fellow students, which I had the opportunity to participate in after my sophomore year. So that was probably the biggest sell for Middlebury for me. At school, I was a theater major and minored in education studies and African American studies. Really loved academics at Mid, especially in the arts and social sciences and the humanities. I had many jobs on campus, but mainly worked in the admissions office senior year as a senior fellow, giving information sessions to students. I worked in the financial aid office on campus, and also worked for a program called Green Dot, which is our violence prevention program on campus. And then beyond that was involved in the arts beyond theater. I'm a singer as well, so I did a cappella, which was so much fun, made a lot of great friends. Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of what I did at Middlebury, but as I'm sure the people will co-sign on this panel, there's so many things that we get involved in our 4 years that we can't possibly consolidate it into this couple-minute intro. Right now, I work at Goldman Sachs in New York City as a diversity recruiter. So that was always a classic part of my info session. I'd be like, I'm a theater major and I'm working at Goldman Sachs, but I do think is a unique kind of path that Middlebury helped me get to. And I think the combination of my academic studies at Middlebury led me to my specific role of diversity recruiting, specifically, you know, the focus in African American studies and the focus on education. So the primary responsibility I have in my role right now is recruiting students from historically Black colleges and universities to roles at the firm. So definitely connected to my passion for Black advancement in this country and also my interest in higher education. I can go on, but I'll stop there, and I'm sure you'll get to know me better as this panel goes on.
Thanks, Kahari. And I just want to let participants know that you can throw questions in the Q&A. We're hoping to get some good questions after we get through introductions. And now I'm going to throw it to Joe.
Hey everybody, glad to be with you tonight in this space. I'm really excited to talk to y'all. I am coming to you tonight from Little Rock, Arkansas, where I work as a news reporter. Originally, I am from Wisconsin though. I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin in the Fox River Valley, kind of south of Green Bay. I was class of 2015 at Middlebury, which feels like a long time ago now, but not all that long ago. I keep trying to remind myself. And yeah, similar to what other people have said, I attended Middlebury. I was really attracted by the kind of the rigorous academics, the small environment there. I was interested at the time in kind of seeing a different part of the country from Wisconsin. And I had a great experience. I was really involved with the campus newspaper when I attended. I was the editor-in-chief my senior year of the newspaper, which coincidentally is called The Campus, the Middlebury Campus. And did some other activities as well. I was on the academic judicial board at the college, did some really great internships in the summers in between. And I think I really can see a through line between the academic work that I did there as well. I was a history and political science major, and then kind of the reporting skills that I have to rely on now in my job as a news reporter. You know, I can potentially talk about that a lot, but yeah, I really see a connection between the combination of campus newspaper work, studying history and poli-sci, and then the reporting skills that I rely on in a daily basis, working for the statewide newspaper down here. I think that just about covers it for me, so I'll throw it back to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Joe. Talon, would you do your introduction?
Hey everyone, great to be here today. I graduated in the class of 2016, originally from the Toronto area, so from Ajax, Ontario, and made my way down to Vermont for an incredible 4 years. And currently I am in Philly, where I'm a med student at Penn, but I guess working my way back from where I am now. When I graduated, I was a molecular biology and economics major and really did not know what I wanted to do after graduation. And so like Kahari, I ended up at Goldman Sachs, where I was working in investment research covering retail and fashion stocks. Then moved into the biotechnology industry, where I worked in corporate development and mergers and acquisitions. And then moved into healthcare consulting, and I did all of that in the span of 3 years. And so if you are wondering how portable a liberal arts degree is or a Middlebury degree is, I mean, I think that speaks to it. Wouldn't recommend having 3 jobs in 4 years, or 4 jobs in 3 years, but it was a lot. And I think each and every single job that I had was through some connection to the Middlebury network. So whether that was my first job at Goldman, where I directly work with alumni that were recruiters or were currently working at the firm, to using our CCI to get a job intro to Trinity Partners, which is the healthcare consulting firm I worked at. I think it really goes to show you how strong that community is, not only during your 4 years, but also afterwards. And I ended up in med school in large part due to my academic experiences at Middlebury. My first day of class at Mid was, it was a class called Making Babies in a Brave New World. And it was taught by Professor Combell. She's in the biology department. And it was my first year seminar. So she served as my academic advisor for my first 2 years. And I fell in love with the class. I loved working with her so much that I ended up deciding to work in her lab. So I was a TA and a research assistant in the biology department. And those experiences led me to kind of consider medicine a bit more. And so during J term, which is the term that we have between our 2 normal academic semesters in the fall and the spring, I took the EMT class my freshman year. And so I worked as a fully licensed EMT in the state of Vermont for 4 years during my college experience. And just some other things I did on campus, worked as a senior fellow like everyone else here. I helped start our nonprofit consulting club on campus, and traditions are a big part about the Middlebury experience. And so I helped lead the traditions committee, which is a part of our activities board.
Great, thanks. Nia, can you do your introduction? Thanks.
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name's Nia Robinson. I'm originally from Chicago. I'm from Chicago and a member of the class of 2019. After graduation, I moved to New York City and I lived on the Lower East Side. And now I live in Brooklyn, but I still have strong ties to the Lower East Side through things that I do. At Middlebury, I was a sociology major. I also spent a lot of time in the admissions office like everyone else here. I spent a lot of time at Crossroads, the student-run cafe. I worked there all of my 4 years. I was a member of student government, the Black Student Union. I also did poetry. So I think I kind of, even though I think looking back, I kind of felt like I jumped around a lot. I think I've been looking at the common thread between all of my activities. And I think if anything, now that I have graduated and I'm currently working on a law firm at Sullivan and Cromwell, trying to figure everything out. And I think my Middlebury education and my experience at Middlebury, like Kahari mentioned, how we all do a lot of things. I think that's something that I've been working on continuing in my postgraduate life. In terms of my path after Middlebury and after graduation, even though I was a member of the community judicial board, and that was kind of the only legal quote unquote thing that I did. But it was a Middlebury student who referred me to the job that I have now and who helped me throughout the process. And now that I'm in the middle of a new job search, especially in a pandemic, but just generally trying to switch industries, Middlebury has definitely demonstrated to me, or at least confirmed the reason why I wanted to graduate from there and go through my 4 years there in the first place. And it's been really rewarding being able to meet new alums, meet students who are currently there, students who I may have overlapped with, but I didn't really get to talk to, all under the guise of we're just all trying to figure things out right now. And I think I am so grateful to have been able to have Middlebury as my alma mater. In the future, my soft plan is to do a joint JD MBA. And I think Middlebury definitely is and has prepared me for that, not only through being able to juggle a lot of different things, but then also just putting me in the network of so many people who can answer the questions that I have. And so I hope that we're all able to do the same for you during this panel. And I encourage you all to just ask your questions using the Q&A.
Great, thanks everybody for sharing. Just want to throw a quick slide up to remind people of who's on the panel, and certainly feel free to send questions directly to each individual if you'd like, and excited to continue the conversation. Terrific. So
about a lot because every single time that I'm making like a career choice or an interest choice, I always think of like, okay, like what can I do so far and like what am I willing to learn? I think the biggest way that Middlebury has prepared me is just allowing me a multitude of opportunities to just discover what I truly liked. And so as I mentioned before, I had various jobs on and off campus. I realize now that like most of them are in education, which is not something that I realized was like a pattern for me. My first 3 years on campus, I worked at a local daycare center in town, like just down the street from the college. And that was really my first experience with education and like younger children in education. And that was just an amazing time, an amazing experience. I built bonds with the families of these children, who many of them are actually professors on campus. And so I got to actually like go to dinner with them at their home. They thanked me for like having this awesome experience with their child at their daycare center. And then looking to like the ways that I was a leader on the crew team with First Admit, our first generation student focused orientation week. Just all of that made me realize that I was pursuing a path in education. And unfortunately, I started a little bit too late to be an education studies major, but I was a minor, and that really helped me understand how our education system works in this country, how it uplifts and also disadvantages groups across our country. And so I realized that I wanted to work in the capacity of education and work in a classroom so that I can create the best experience for my students. I also, not only am I a first grade teacher, I actually am the middle school volleyball coach at my school. So like being able to be in sports at Middlebury was like a huge part of choosing to take on that role. This year, I actually just accepted a role to be on our lead teacher team. Those are the teachers that decide what to do for professional development, decide what our schedules are going to be. They do expectations for teachers. And so if I hadn't had a lot of mentorship and leadership roles at Middlebury, and if I hadn't been given those opportunities, I don't know if I would be doing all of these awesome things within my career. And so I'm just really thankful that Middlebury kind of just lays all the opportunities out for you, whether it's extracurricular, academic, whatever it is. And you find that after Middlebury, your interests just continue. I think a lot of us have like really spoken to that point, and how we find a love for things that we may not have realized that we love, and then we take them with us once we graduate and leave campus.
Thank you. Thank you. Talon.
So when looking back at like the path I've taken to get to where I am, I think Middlebury plays such a fundamental role in each step along the way. I can remember my first day on the job at that investment bank, and it was like a 16-hour day, and I was just so tired at the end of it. You're just getting emails and calls and having to work and be challenged in so many different ways professionally. And I think the most critical skills I got out of my time at Middlebury was the ability to critically analyze a text, to read, to write, to communicate effectively. I think those are skills that are so invaluable in whatever career path you've taken after your time at Middlebury. I think all of us here have tried to speak to that. And those are skills that are so fundamental to the academic experience at Middlebury, but also the social experience. You're debating the ideas in the classroom, outside of the classroom, with friends and peers from so many different walks of life or backgrounds that are so different than your own. And looking now, like I'm in professional school, I feel like I still leverage all of those skills, but also those kind of softer skills. The community building, I think, is such a big part about our time at Middlebury. We always look to challenge ourselves as a group of students, faculty, and staff to make the institution better. And I think that is something that I personally have taken in my current grad school and professional school that I'm in, to take that ethos to always see how I can improve myself and help uplift my peers around me. And I think that's one thing that Middlebury really instilled in me throughout the jobs I had after college, but also my graduate school experience.
Thanks. Kahari?
I think Middlebury taught me how to learn. Very basic, but not. I think I came into the school with certain strengths and then left with totally new strengths that I just cultivated through my coursework. Middlebury is really rigorous, and I think I figured out how to get a lot of things done at Middlebury and how to learn new things kind of along the way. So I spoke about being a theater major, and now I'm working at this investment bank. And I think Middlebury didn't directly prepare me to work at a bank, but Middlebury prepared me to figure out how to learn at a bank, because I don't know, I feel like my potential is kind of limitless because of how hard I worked at Middlebury and how many things I had to pick up along the way to be successful there. And that's something that I'm definitely applying to my career now. So, you know, even though I'm going down this path right now, if I, in 3 years, decide I want to do something completely different, I'm not holding myself back because I have the confidence in myself to pick up the new skills that I'd need to pick up to be successful in the other field. And I think also, in addition to learning, Middlebury taught me how to unlearn in really important ways. So I think, I don't know, like I took education studies classes where I learned about indigenous communities and how the education system isn't very accessible to them or really cognizant of their traditions. And like that was a big thing that I had to like unlearn, kind of the things that I assumed were correct about the education, you know, the education industry, and had to then unlearn that and learn the ways in which the education industry was very unfair, and that we had to dismantle a lot of the systemic issues within the industry to make it more equitable. And I think that that's another skill. In addition to being able to pick things up, I'm able to unlearn things to help get rid of bad habits, to help recenter myself in really important ways. Like, this isn't really career, it's more life, but this COVID pandemic came, and one of the risks, like one of the things that could make you high risk of you know, passing away from the virus or something is being obese. And I was obese, and I have lived my whole life like overweight, and I was just concerned. So I completely like changed my lifestyle this past 6 months and have been really focused on unlearning all of my eating habits, unlearning like not working out. And it's had some really profound changes. I've lost like 70, close to 80 pounds. I don't know why I'm talking about my personal life, but here we are. And I think that's Middlebury, you know, like Middlebury taught me how to identify things that aren't working, and think really critically about how you can either change things within yourself or work to change these messed up systems, to make us all like able to breathe a little bit easier and just make us lighter, freer. And I definitely thank my Middlebury experience for instilling that in me, because I think it's just been hugely transformative.
Thank you. Nia?
So I think for me, two important things that Middlebury taught me was, one, how to be comfortable in unfamiliar situations, and then two, how to be comfortable with saying, I don't know, but saying I'll try to figure it out. And I think the two have really helped me in my current position as a legal assistant, but I think just generally as I'm navigating postgraduate life, it's really freeing to be able to say, I don't know, but I'll do my best to figure it out, because I think the results that I get kind of are much better than if I pretended like I knew everything. Yeah, and so I think I mentioned, you know, trying to get back into the job search and just generally thinking about being a young professional, recently graduated, figuring all of that out. I think Middlebury graduating just made me feel like I can do anything. And instead of that kind of feeling like, even though it can be daunting because I want to do everything, if anything, I don't know, I think I feel like I can do anything because I have my people at Middlebury who can help me out with it. And I think that's one of the most important things that you should look for in an institution, because yes, your 4 years are important, but you have a long, long life after those 4 years. And I see Middlebury as an institution that's going to continue being in my life. And whether that is reaching out to the CCI, I know someone mentioned mid to mid. I think over the past 3 or 4 weeks, I've had at least like 14 different informational interviews. And a lot of those came from mid to mid, but Middlebury grads just sharing other information, other contacts with me. And it's really nice just to be in a community where everybody just wants to keep paying it forward. So yeah, I think no matter where I go or no matter what I decide to do, I know that I have the support of Middlebury, so.
Terrific. And Joe?
Completely agree with everything that everybody else has said so far. I think I will just say that for me, I can say with near certainty that I wouldn't be in the field that I'm in today. I probably would not be, doing what I'm doing and having, such a rewarding and invigorating career in journalism were it not for Middlebury. And if you were to take out kind of any one of those three legs of that stool of extracurricular, academic, career advice at Middlebury that, looking back on it, I think really helped get me where I am, I don't think I'd be here. And like my fellow alumni were saying, I think Middlebury impacts you in ways that you can't really predict how it's going to influence the rest of your path after you leave. And so it's a really exciting thing to be able to take advantage of everything the school has to offer. Yeah, that's all I got.
So thank you to everybody for sharing. It is really inspiring to hear the flexibility of the liberal arts, in action in all of your experiences. And I know that it was rewarding for our participants tonight to hear not just about your time at Middlebury, but what you're up to today. So I want to thank everyone, especially the admissions team that pulled this all together, this conversation. And I'm looking forward to more reunions with senior fellows and having conversations about the way that Middlebury has been a connection for you. So good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your inspiring words and your reminder to find passion and enjoyment in the college process. Good evening.